Hello everybody, this is week 2, video 5. This is a very short video that's going to go over functionalism or structural functionalism. Those are two synonyms that mean the same thing. And so this is one of the 4 theoretical perspectives that I outlined for you in the previous video. Remember, we're only going to do 3 we're only going to study 3 intently, and we're going to leave that 4th one for you when you move on with other sociology classes in the future. So functionalism is a macro scale point of view, and remember, it's a theoretical perspective, so it means that it is a point of view that has a certain set of questions, a certain set of assumptions that go along with it. So if you are a sociologist who likes functionalism, and I'll tell you about it in a second, you can decide whether you like it or not, then you will ask questions such as this last one that I have on the board here about how does something contribute to social stability, and anything at all that you study in society, anything at all can be analyzed from a functionalist perspective, as long as it is a macro scale point of view, trends across the board in the whole of society. So functionalism or structural functionalism, the structural part refers to society as a whole. You have heard me say social structure in previous lectures that we've had together. So functionalists look at the structural level of society on the macro scale, and their assumption about society as a whole is that society in general is stable and orderly. It's organized in a way that works toward equilibrium of sorts. It's stable and orderly. Functionalists often talk about society as a thing that's just like an organism, like your human body, my dog's body. A body is one thing, but it's made up of a whole lot of other individual parts that if they weren't connected correctly and if they didn't exist, then society wouldn't exist. So these parts of society are called social institutions. And whenever you look at something from the structural standpoint or from the macro scale standpoint, you look at social institutions. These are, well, we will go into these in depth in a future chapter, I think soon, but I don't know what chapter it's in. We will go into this in depth. But for right now, I'm not going to give you a definition of social institutions in this video. You can get that from your textbook. But social institutions examples would be the government, the economy, religion, law enforcement, all of these kinds of things that exist as big trends across the board. Functionalists say that all these social institutions are like individual body parts that work together to keep society stable and orderly. Just like your body has a heart and lungs and stomach and intestines and all the other body parts that work together to keep you stable and orderly. You even use that word in medicine, right? Stability, or somebody's stable or unstable medically. So society is like an organism. This is the metaphor or the simile. I can't remember if that's a metaphor or a simile. Anyway, you can ask your English teacher. That's the metaphor that functionalists use about society. Society is a big thing. It's got lots of individual parts, and those parts we can think of like parts of the body. They happen to be called social institutions. So think of social institutions as the organs that make society function. Ooh, did you see what I did there? The organs that make society function in a stable and orderly way. So anything at all that you want to study on the macro scale, if you plug something in right here and ask, how does it contribute to social stability? You have to zoom out enough in order to be able to answer that question from a functionalist perspective. So really quick before we move on, let me plug something in here. When we were talking about the Industrial Revolution and the social problems that urbanization and industrialization brought along with it, poverty was one of the social problems. Poverty we don't think of as a good thing, at least I don't. I have been poor in my life. Thank God I'm not anymore. But poverty stinks when you're living in it. Just, we'll talk about it over coffee. But anyway, how does poverty contribute to stability of society, to social stability? If poverty is a thing that exists across the macro scale in society, and social inequality is, then a functionalist, even if you might think of poverty as a negative thing in general, and on a micro scale, it is. But on a macro scale, since it's part of our social structure, and it's been forever, and it's gonna be in the future, it's got to contribute to stability and order, or we would have cut it out, like you have surgery to remove something if it's not supposed to be there. So a functionalist would say, how does poverty contribute to social stability? And the answer could be many different things, but one of the common things that functionalists say about poverty contributing in a positive way to society is that if people are hungry enough, if people are in need enough, then they will take jobs that society vitally needs to be done, but they aren't desirable jobs. They will take jobs like cleaning things that aren't desirable. You don't want to go to college. You're not in college right now, so you can continue to be a janitor later, but we need janitors. You're not in college right now so that you can continue to sell AM Crunch Wraps at Taco Bell after you have a college degree. But that job at Taco Bell, thank you, it's vital. I need my AM Crunch Wrap, right? So those jobs that are vital to normal life in society, and I guess I need to roll my eyes when I say normal. I'll put it in air quotes there, because what the heck does that mean? I mean, anyway, don't get me started. That's another lecture. So you plug whatever you want to talk about that exists on the macro scale, you plug that in right here. How does something, poverty is our example, contribute to social stability? So it ensures that those jobs are filled, but it also contributes in positive ways to the economy, because the fact that people live in poverty creates other jobs that are middle-class jobs. Social work exists in part because poverty exists. There's all kinds of government jobs and non-government jobs in charitable organizations. Food banks exist because poverty exists. Government programs like WIC or your EBT card or any of these kinds of things that have administrators to run them, your Medicaid card, our Kids First, all those kinds of things that are government agencies. All of those things have a staff that run them. And if poverty didn't exist, those staff jobs wouldn't exist. And therefore, poverty is a necessary part of the way our economy is structured. Because look at how many jobs are not poverty area jobs. They'll get you like a good middle class wage. But the only reason that job exists is because people exist in poverty. Somebody's got to calculate the housing vouchers and monitor them and do all of these kinds of things. And so those jobs exist only because poverty exists. So a functionalist is not going to look at the micro scale social experience of being in poverty. Rather, a functionalist is going to look at the macro scale effects of poverty to the whole of society and say, poverty contributes to the stability of society in a variety of ways. Positive impact on the economy and ensuring that really undesirable jobs that people don't want to do on the long term, you make sure that they get done anyway until that person has skill or until that person moves on to something else. And therefore, you've got kind of society plugging along, stable and orderly, working toward equilibrium, as a functionalist would say. So that's functionalism in a nutshell. Please make sure that you re-watch this video and that you have really good thorough notes, because Project 1 is going to ask you to explain functionalism to a third grade education level. So if I have used complex words here that are college level that you don't understand, make sure you look them up, make sure you do understand them and make them part of your college level vocabulary. But I'm going to ask you to explain this on a level that a third grader could understand in Project 1. And that's not as easy as you might think, okay? So it's kind of a complex topic. So make sure that you have thorough enough notes so that you're going to be successful doing that. Text me with questions. Bye.